On my wedding day, the substitute bride I had hired at great expense made a grand entrance into the bridal sedan. I blended into the crowd to watch the spectacle. A young nobleman beside me asked, "Whose wedding procession is this? Such a lavish display." Terrified, I turned and fled. My fiancé, "Why did you run away from the wedding too?" Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. The bridal procession from the Ling family marched grandly through the long street, and I blended into the crowd to watch the excitement. "Which family's wedding procession is this lavish?" the young master beside me asked. "Other than the Ling family of linen, who else could afford such extravagance?" I turned my head, about to respond to him. "Naturally, your place, Ling Q. What are you doing here?" Without thinking, I turned and ran, only to crash into a burly man behind me. I kept apologizing profusely. The man glared at me, raised his hand, and I could see the slap coming straight for my face. A hand reached past me, firmly stopping the burly man. "Mind your own business." The burly man tried to shake him off, but the hand didn't budge an inch. "How much silver do you want?" Truly worthy of the Ling family, nothing that can be solved with money is a real problem. The big man got what he wanted, took the money, and left. I had no choice but to turn around and thank my benefactor. "I don't recall offending you, miss. Why do you look at me as if I were some monstrous beast?" Ling Q asked, puzzled. "No wonder I was afraid just a moment ago. I truly thought Ling Q had come to take me back for the wedding ceremony. Now it seems he doesn't recognize me. This humble girl had a nightmare of being chased by someone, and you bear some resemblance to that person in the dream," which startled me. I blurted out casually, "I find the young lady somewhat familiar as well. Perhaps we've met in a dream too." Ling Q replied, his gaze burning into me. I endured his gaze like a prisoner facing judgment. "Perhaps this is fate." He spoke only after studying me for a while. "Fate? What fate indeed? We even managed to flee our weddings at the same time to watch the spectacle." I forced a hollow laugh to brush it off. After parting ways with him, I continued to the Ling residence to gather information. If the bridal couple is here, then who's performing the wedding ceremony at the Ling household? Ling Q actually followed along. "Young master, won't you be recognized if you just show up at the Ling family's doorstep like this? I rarely ever step outside the inner courtyard, and when I do go out, I always wear a veil with my elder sister. Young Master Ling has been frail and sickly since childhood and seldom goes out." Recalling the news my elder brother had brought back, I fell silent, physically weak. How did he manage to restrain that burly man barehanded? I shook my head. There wasn't much use dwelling on these things now after all. The wedding escape had already succeeded. The bridal sedan chair landed before the Ling residence, amidst the clamor of gongs and drums. Yet after a long wait there was no sign of the groom coming out to greet it. Originally, the Ling family had agreed with my father that Ling Q was in poor health and thus unable to personally fetch the bride from my home. But the bridal sedan had already arrived. Naturally, the groom could not come out. Ling Q is right beside me. The guests at the door were whispering among themselves even before entering. The Ling residence was already treating the bride with such cold neglect. Something terrible has happened. "The eldest young master isn't in the mansion," someone from the Ling household shouted. "He's here. Why don't you all look over here instead?" I was just contemplating whether to expose this person when the substitute bride I'd hired at great expense lifted the sedan curtain, stepped out, and directly removed her red veil. Someone recognized that it wasn't me after all. How could Miss Shen be replaced too? I watched with my own eyes as that substitute bride in bright red wedding robes used Qigong to fly away, escaping all the way outside the city walls in full view of everyone. Did I pay you a fortune to do this sort of thing? Have you even completed the wedding ceremony with Ling Q's substitute bride before running off? Did the bride just run away? Ling Q was still asking me beside me. She ran away. She really ran away. The fake one has run away too. Originally, I had planned to return home in half a month. By then, my elder brother and sister should have already prepared our parents mentally. I would just go back and reflect on my mistakes behind closed doors for a few months. But now, the second Miss Shen has fled from her wedding in front of everyone. If the bride were to run away like this at your wedding, what would you do, young master? Since she's already run away, I might as well ask the person involved for their opinion first. Ling Q pretended to ponder seriously. Go to her house the next day and demand the betrothal gifts back. That makes sense. With this marriage falling through, I thought Ling Q should seize the opportunity to return home, pretending he never ran away, and come back tomorrow to demand his betrothal gifts. But I had barely taken 2 steps when he caught up to me. saying he'd given all his money to that burly man and was now penniless with nowhere to go. Young Master Ling, your home is right in front of you. I won't pledge my life in return for a drop of kindness, not even as your ox or horse, but I couldn't let my benefactor wander the streets either. Gritting my teeth, I took Ling Q to find an inn. 4 inns later, all were fully booked. The 5th inn had only one room left. I never knew running an inn in linen was such a booming business. If there's a firewood room, I can make do for the night. Ling Q took the initiative to ask the waiter. The waiter looked troubled. Young master, please don't compete with us for bedding. Each of us servants has just one bed, all carefully allocated by the innkeeper. What a thrifty shopkeeper. Don't worry, benefactor, this humble girl can sleep on the floor. I've never slept before, it's no trouble. Running away from marriage should involve some hardship. I carefully laid out 3 layers of quilts, afraid I might sleep uncomfortably. After finishing the bedding, Ling Q returned from washing up at the water room. It's better if I sleep on the floor. Young ladies have delicate constitutions, catching a chill at night wouldn't be good. Why didn't you say so earlier? Many thanks, benefactor. May I ask your honorable name? With tears of gratitude on my face, I poured a glass of water from the table and handed it over, waiting for Ling Q to continue. My name is Yang Ju, Ling Q said. I remembered, according to the information my elder brother had gathered, Yang Ju was one of Ling Q's few close friends. Might I ask the young lady's name? Ling Q politely accepted the cup of water but did not drink. My surname is Jiang, given name Wanxiao. May I call you Miss Xiaoqiao then? Absolutely wonderful. Xiaoqiao, I'll be borrowing your name for now. That evening, as soon as I hung up the bed curtains, I fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, I discovered that the frail and sickly eldest young Master Ling had developed a fever. I went out to summon a physician to examine him. The physician said, even if you quarrel, you shouldn't drive your husband to sleep on the floor. His constitution is weak, he can't endure such rough treatment. The physician and I worked together to move Ling Q onto the bed. As for his earnest admonitions, I could only nod in agreement, thinking that since this would be our only encounter, he could believe whatever he pleased. This young lady is pure and blameless, an upright person fears no crooked shadow. The physician then asked me to accompany him back to fetch some medicine, quietly imparting some techniques along the way. If your husband throws a tantrum and refuses to take his medicine, just feed it to him anyway. By then, any minor conflicts will have been resolved. Doctor, are you overthinking this? Little did I expect the doctor's words to come true. I paid the waiter to help brew the medicine and deliver it. I personally held the medicine bowl and fed him with a spoon. The young master wouldn't even open his mouth, letting all the medicine spill onto the cloth I'd wrapped around his head. Drink it or don't. Just die then. I tried to wake him so he could drink it himself. You can't wake someone who's pretending to sleep, nor someone who's passed out. I reached out and touched his forehead. It was frighteningly hot, far hotter than mine had ever been. His face was deathly pale too. Without medicine, he might truly die. Just yesterday he called me his savior, and today I'd be sending him to the grave, though I resented my parents for arranging this marriage without my consent. I truly bore no grudge against Ling Q. A lady like me knows when to bend and when to stand firm. Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda. This is merely repaying a kindness. I meant no disrespect toward you, young master. With eyes closed, I fed Ling Q his medicine several times before rising to wipe my mouth with a handkerchief. A sidelong glance revealed, Ling Q lay with his eyes open. When did you wake up, young master? Ling Q looked at me with a blank expression, clearly about to misunderstand something. I called for you earlier but you wouldn't wake, so I had no choice but to resort to this. I've offended you, young master, please don't take it to heart. I got nervous in the moment and hurried to explain. Even adding hand gestures, my flailing hands were caught in front of him. He spoke weakly. I'll take responsibility. Ling Q hadn't listened to a word I said. The young lady is already betrothed. With a hardened heart, I spoke frankly. The young lady wasn't lying either. My parents truly did arrange a marriage engagement for me. Is that so? Ling Q released my hand, his gaze dimming. What happened today? I shall keep it strictly confidential. No third person must ever know of this. I nodded. Suddenly, there was a sound. The waiter delivering the second dose of medicine appeared. He claimed he saw nothing. I believed it. Sir, your medicine is here. The waiter set down the tray, swiftly exited, and closed the door behind him. No fourth person must ever know. I helped Ling Q fetch the medicine, then went downstairs to pay the innkeeper hush money. After securing his silence, I made a detour to the moonlit snow pavilion to demand justice and a refund for the runaway bride I'd hired at great expense to stand in for me during the wedding ceremony. Return my silver, the silver must be returned. The manager of Snow Moon Pavilion immediately ushered me into a private room upon seeing me, treating me with great care and asking how I wished to resolve the matter. Failure to perform the task, refund everything in full. But, didn't Miss Ryua take your place in the bridal sedan after all? Have you paid respects at the ancestral hall? Did the bridegroom see her? In the end, they refunded me 70% of the silver. Originally, I only expected to get half back. This works out well, now I can stay at the inn for 2 months without worry. On the way, I inquired about the Shun family's situation. When my father learned that Ling Q had also fled the wedding, he firmly insisted it was the Ling family's fault. As for me, I left in public due to overwhelming grief. Upon returning, I immediately sought out the inn attendant and asked if there were any new vacant rooms. Thank heavens, the guest in the neighboring room had just left that morning. I paid extra to move in, now I can rest easy for a few days, though I still need to tend to the person in the next room. While pondering how to clean him, the inn attendant knocked, asking if we needed hot water. I simply paid the attendant to take care of Ling Q. Before I knew it, the Qixi festival had arrived. Ling Q had the innkeeper deliver an invitation the day before, asking me to accompany him. I pretended not to have seen it. The city was bustling at night, and I went out dressed in new clothes. When I reached the crossroads, I saw him standing under a lantern with his arms crossed, as if he had been waiting there for a long time. As luck would have it, when he saw me coming, his eyes curved into crescents as he added, "What a coincidence." Ling Q's smile carried a youthful charm, and I couldn't bring myself to contradict him. I merely walked past him, but he immediately fell into step beside me, unable to shake him off. I had no choice but to let him follow. The street was packed shoulder to shoulder with people, and I was nearly knocked over in the crush. Ling Q swiftly caught me and didn't let go. His intentions were too obvious, but I couldn't bring myself to expose them. "But young Master Ling, did you know I'm the very Miss Shin you've been trying so hard to avoid?" As usual, I bought a lantern to release by the river. Ling Q grabbed my hand and said he wanted to come too, to maintain his penniless persona. He had always insisted on staying at inns. "Consider it a loan from me, I'll make sure he pays me back double later." Ling Q picked a lantern identical in style to the one in my hand. Xiao Qiao has excellent taste. Before reaching for my purse, I glanced at the lanterns again and reminded him, "Young Master Yang, do you recall I mentioned my family has already arranged a marriage for me?" Ling Q hesitated before speaking. "Is it truly forbidden even to release lanterns together? Besides," he continued, "didn't you also obey your parents' wishes? Miss Jiang, you've never spoken of him before." I found myself at a loss for words against his arguments. We carried lanterns as we walked toward the riverside, and in front of the brightly lit tavern, I suddenly saw Jiang Wanqiao stepping out. I halted abruptly, pointing at a stall and saying I wanted to buy a pearl hairpin. Fortunately, Jiang Wanqiao didn't come this way. Otherwise, with her loud voice, she would have surely rushed over and shouted my name upon seeing me. The hairpin was just an excuse, but Ling Q went to the stall and examined them carefully for a long while before picking one and placing it in my hair. I had my eye on this one too, which is why I didn't stop him. The vendor smiled warmly. "Buy one for your little lady, it would suit her well." Expressionless, I took out my own silver to pay. Finding an open spot by the river, I placed the lantern in the water, clasped my hands together, and made a wish. Everything goes smoothly. Ling Q squatted beside me, mimicking my actions. May Miss Jiang have peace year after year. Should I remind him that wishes don't come true if spoken aloud? It probably doesn't matter, Jiang Wanqiao can bless herself just fine. I stood up and suddenly spotted another familiar face. "Many thanks, young Master Yang Ju," I deliberately raised my voice to say. Ling Q smiled, but before he could rise, someone approached while saying, "No need for thanks, and who might you be?" I tilted my head, and the newcomer followed my gaze to see Ling Q. He swiftly stepped forward and pulled Ling Q up. "Ling Q, what are you doing here? Your father has been looking for you for days." "Perfect timing, come back with me today." Ling Q, I chewed on the name, putting on a puzzled expression. Yang Ju glanced at us and immediately understood. Well. Using my name to flirt with girls out here. "Miss, I'm Yang Ju, and his Ling Q, he's already engaged, don't let him fool you. Yang Ju is a good person. Miss Jiang, please let me explain." Ling Q walked up to me. "There's nothing between us, I'll go back and call off the engagement immediately. Please believe me." "Good, me too." Under Yang Ju's astonished gaze, I nodded with a smile. Ling Q, you must keep your promise, and don't forget to pay back the money. Seeing my agreement, Ling Q followed Yang Ju back. Having secured Ling Q's promise, I returned home the next day. The moment I stepped through the courtyard gate, the steward ushered me to the front courtyard. Grandmother, father, mother, eldest brother, and eldest sister were all seated above, while I knelt alone in the very center. He appeared stern, yet unbeknownst to all, except for my father, the other four were here to plead on my behalf. In the past, 2 or 3 would suffice to get me off the hook. But today's offense was grave, requiring all of them to join forces, kneel in the ancestral hall and reflect on your misdeeds. Master Shen declared sternly. Grandmother, Huaya has grown much thinner, he cannot kneel, mother said. The ancestral hall is cold at night, let's have it in her courtyard. Eldest sister, father arranged the engagement against second sister's will. She had no choice. Eldest brother, that Ling family boy doesn't even care about second sister. Marrying into their household would only bring her suffering. Shen Yuehuai, come with me to the study. Father Shen stood up, passing by me as he singled me out. I comforted them one by one, telling them not to worry, I'd be back soon. Since you look down on the Ling family, in my opinion, there's no need for punishment. Starting tomorrow, I'll arrange for you to meet other young masters from different families, one by one, even if one Ling Q escaped. There were still countless others like him. Father, why are you in such a hurry to send me away? When you were a child, the fortune teller said that if you didn't leave the manor before turning 20, a great calamity would befall you. Master Shen sighed. I pouted and stepped forward to console him, saying one shouldn't take a Taoist's words too seriously. How dare we not believe? Master Shen's concern was not without reason. The Taoist priest also said I would face a great calamity at the age of 12. That year when I turned 12, the household watched over me carefully in every way, yet during a banquet when the crowd was large and eyes were everywhere, someone still managed to push me into the garden pond. Fortunately, I was discovered in time and didn't lose my life. The one who pushed me turned out to be the Ling family's concubine, though I never knew when I might have offended her. Later I heard that Master Ling had sent her to a farmstead, which finally made my father drop the matter. My father had also remembered those old grievances, but when he consulted a fortune teller about our birth characters, they said Ling Q's and mine were perfectly matched, a union destined by fate. The fortune teller had previously matched several couples whose birth characters aligned, and my father made inquiries. Those marriages had all turned out harmonious and fulfilling. So he dismissed my girlish objections and settled this marriage arrangement. I begged my elder brother to secretly take me out to meet Ling Q once. At that time, he seemed to have just recovered from a serious illness, sitting among a group of young masters, looking so frail he might break at a touch. Throughout the banquet, he didn't utter a single word. I couldn't help but think, how dreadful it would be to face such a lifeless person day after day. So I decided to go all the way, found a substitute bride to anger Ling Q, forcing him to write a letter of divorce. At worst, I'd beat him until he wrote it. Of course, that would be the last resort. A few days later, after meeting with young Master Tang and returning to the estate, I found Jiang Guanxiao waiting for me at the entrance of the Shen residence. No sooner had I stepped down from the carriage than she rushed over to accuse me. Today, Ling Q came to my home looking for me and told my father I was the love of his life. My father called me out to question him, and the moment Ling Q saw me, he turned pale with shock. Did you do something to him using my name? Ling Q actually went to the Jiang family's place. How did you know it was me? I wondered, since when did Xiao Qiao become so sharp? I asked Yangshu and the others, and they all said it wasn't them, so she used the process of elimination. I don't care. You made me get scolded by my dad, you have to make it up to me, Jiang Guanxiao said with a woeful expression. Fine, I'll take you to the tavern for a meal tomorrow. I readily agreed. Jiang Guanxiao immediately brightened up upon hearing this. Jiang Guanxiao was restless. At this moment, the private room was occupied by me, her, and young Master Shu. Young Master Shu fawned with a smile. What does Miss Shen mean by this? Just an ordinary meal. This is my childhood friend Jiang Guanxiao, who happened to drop by, Shu Jiqian said sarcastically. If that's the case, Miss Shen, why not dine downstairs in the main hall? It's livelier there. Sure. I stood up and asked the waiter to change our table for us. Worried that Shu Jiqian might think I was trying to save him money, I generously offered to pay for the meal and told them both to order whatever they liked. Jiang Guanxiao ordered 7 dishes in one go, watching the storyteller on stage with great interest. From time to time, she would ask Shu Jiqian for his opinion, interrupting his attempts to converse with me. Xiao Qiao is truly wonderful, I really should take her out to eat more often. Little did I expect that young Master Shu would take the matter straight to my father. After dinner, my father summoned me to his study, with deep sorrow. My father admonished me and demanded that I stay within the manor these coming days. Thanks to young Master Shu's intervention, I regained my freedom and no longer needed to meet other young gentlemen in the city. Just as I was leaving the study, my father called me back again. Tomorrow, the Ling family will come to discuss cancelling the engagement. You should come to the front courtyard too. So it turns out I'm actually engaged. Mr. Tang and Mr. Shu, why are you two in such a hurry? When my father sent someone to call me, he said the Ling family was already having tea in the front courtyard. I sauntered over, but the moment I stepped inside, I was so startled that I immediately turned around and exited, making a right turn. The maid following me lacked any sense of awareness and just stood there dumbly at the door, staring at me. My father inside asked her, "Where's the second young miss?" The little maid very honestly pointed in my direction. "Why has Ling Q come in person?" As expected, he never speaks falsely, he's come personally to reclaim the betrothal gifts. "Please excuse my daughter's behavior. I've spoiled her since childhood, it's no trouble. Miss Shen likely simply doesn't wish to see me. I bear no ill will," came Ling Q's clear, cool voice. It suddenly dawned on me that the person who'd been speaking in my recent dreams was none other than him. Where thoughts linger by day, dreams take form by night. Shaking my head, I lifted my silk skirt and stepped over the threshold, ready to confront him about the debt. I had barely stepped through the door when Ling Q glanced over impatiently, then suddenly froze and abruptly stood up. Both my father and I were startled. "Are you Shen Yuehuai?" Ling Q asked softly. My father snorted coldly. "Who else could it be? Xiao Huai, mind your manners, come greet them properly." I had already composed my expression and gracefully bowed to him. "Young Master Ling. This humble girl has no fate with the young master. Meeting today, we may as well part on good terms. Has the young master brought the betrothal letter?" Seeing my arrival, my father took out our family's copy of the betrothal letter and slapped it on the table. Ling Q instinctively tightened his collar. "I was in such a hurry when leaving home today that I forgot to bring it." "Ling Q, since when did you learn to lie? I suspect the marriage certificate is on him, but I have no proof." My father, unsuspecting, adhered to the principle that a guest is a guest, and politely invited him to stay for dinner. In reality, he was already preparing to see him out the moment those words were spoken. To my surprise, Ling Q nodded and said, "Thank you, father-in-law, what nonsense are you spouting?" My father was momentarily stunned by the address but quickly remembered the betrothal was still valid. Ling Q's form of address was perfectly proper. Would the young master care to join this old man for tea in the side chamber? Or perhaps my daughter could show you around the estate. Ling Q indeed turned to face me. "Then I shall trouble Miss Yuehuai for your assistance. Please address me as Miss Shen." Why does Ling Q's courtesy come and go like the tide? My father didn't quite understand the situation, but cheerfully reminded me not to neglect our guest. I had no choice but to lead Ling Q aimlessly through the Shen residence. We avoided the lotus pond, peach trees, and pavilions entirely, sticking only to the narrow paths winding through the crevices of the rock formations. The servants of the Shun household lacked perception. As I walked expressionlessly beside Ling Q, they actually greeted us with "Good day, second miss," and "Good day, second son-in-law. Don't you know the engagement is about to be called off?" So I compromised and decided to take Ling Q to sit in the small pavilion. To avoid the irritation of hearing them address him as son-in-law, Ling Q remained silent the whole way, and I didn't bother to wonder what was on his mind. "Young Master Ling didn't bring the marriage certificate today, but did you bring silver?" "I did," he answered immediately. "Return the silver I lent you earlier for clothes. I won't charge you for the meals." "Not enough," Ling Q said. "I didn't bring much today. How about I leave my jade pendant with you as collateral? I'll redeem it with silver soon." Ling Q grabbed my arm and with one hand untied the jade pendant hanging at his waist. I quickly refused. "No need, I trust your character, young Master Ling. A proper young lady shouldn't casually accept gifts from other men." "Little sister, who are you pulling and tugging with there? In broad daylight, under the clear heavens, bring them over for your elder sister to see." Eldest sister's voice came from the pavilion. And only then did I notice she'd been resting there with her maidservant. "Didn't they say the Ling family would visit today?" Elder brother set down a game piece and looked up at us. I took the opportunity to shake off Ling Q's hand and stepped forward. "Yes, father asked him to stay for dinner, so I took him for a walk around the manor." Shen Baiwei smiled at Ling Q. "This must be my brother-in-law. Do you play chess? Come and have a game with me." I forgot that Shen Baiwei only stands by my side when I'm being scolded, Ling Q answered honestly. I don't know how, this suited her perfectly. Shen Baiwei had Shen Kui clear the chessboard to make way for her younger brother. Before long, Shen Kui had no choice but to stand with me. Watching them play and witnessing Ling Q being thoroughly outmatched, Ling Q truly had no skill, even I could have beaten him if I'd played. After winning one game, Shen Baiwei claimed she was tired and asked me to take her place. Blood is thicker than water. I sat down, about to win my first game of chess in this lifetime. Little did I know Ling Q had been pretending earlier. He clearly knew how to play. In the gentle breeze, he annihilated me completely, then flashed me a faint smile and said, I accept your concession. Shen Baiwei had long covered her face, laughing soundlessly. Go and I are mortal enemies. At dinner, hearing that the second son-in-law was present, both mother and grandmother came to the front courtyard to dine together. After finishing the game, I wanted to feign illness, but was forcibly dragged over by my elder sister. Do you all still remember that Ling Q came today intending to break off the engagement? Throughout the banquet, everyone maintained their composure, with not a single person mentioning the matter. The atmosphere was joyous, filled with toasts and cheerful conversation. By the time the feast ended, the bright moon hung high in the sky. Ling Q, who had refused no one's toast, had stubbornly downed 2 flasks of wine. If you don't get drunk, who will? Master Shen had me escort him back in the Shen family carriage. This young fellow had arrived on horseback in the morning. Look at you getting carried away, drinking so much wine. The round trip took about 2 hours. After passing through several streets, I lifted the carriage curtain to see the brightly lit night market. I thought to myself, perhaps I should just have the driver drop me off now and pick me up again later on the return trip. Just as I was about to open the car door to call for a stop, Ling Q seemed to sense my intention and grabbed my outstretched hand. Shen Yuehai, you're so beautiful, you can't trust the words of a drunkard, I thought to myself. Yet the warmth gradually crept up to color my cheeks. It must be too hot in this carriage. Can we not call off the engagement? Ling Q leaned closer. The lighting in the car was poor, yet I could see the glimmer in his pupils. You're not trying to weasel out of repaying your debt, are you? That was actually my first thought. I'll pay you back double, triple. All my silver is yours. I have so much silver, Ling Q said, fumbling to remove his jade pendant to give me. This time his hands turned clumsy. With one hand he struggled for a long time without managing to undo it, while the other refused to let go of me, as if afraid I'd run away. Seeing him flustered, I inexplicably felt happy, a strange joy welling up inside me. After a while, I reached out to help him untie it, and he grasped my hand, pressing the jade into my palm. Here, for you, will you take it? Shen Yuehai, take it. He held my hands, asking over and over, why? I asked him, I like you. I fell in love with you at first sight. An expected answer. If on our wedding day I told you I was Shen Yuehai, would you still have fallen in love with me at first sight? Suddenly I felt a pang of envy. When he met me, he didn't know who I was, so he followed his heart without hesitation, while I always knew he was Ling Q, the very Ling Q I had gone to such lengths to escape. Even if he weren't that taciturn Ling Q, yet he is indeed the Ling Q betrothed to me. I fled the wedding, only to fall for the very man I was supposed to marry. Had I not known he was Ling Q, had he told me he was Yang Ju, could I have accepted him without reservation? I like Yang Ju, I like Ling Q. He didn't seem to understand my long-winded explanation, stubbornly insisting I take the jade pendant. In the end, I didn't accept it. I pushed the jade pendant back into his hands. If you truly want to give it to me, come to me sober and tell me your reasons. Words spoken under the influence of alcohol are a mix of truth and lies. I'd like to believe he used the drink as liquid courage, but I'd rather believe what he says tomorrow when he's sober. Shen Yuehai, I'm not some silent gourd. He began chattering incessantly in my ear, refuting what I'd said earlier. You're noisy, I said. Who on earth said he was a silent type? The man could talk a blue streak. Shen Yuehai, I won't die young. I won't let you become a widow for me. Who said I'd become your widow? Just clear your name without dragging me into rumors. Shen Yuehai, fu, how much longer? I couldn't take it anymore. At this moment, I'd rather Ling Q were a genuine mute. Early the next morning, someone woke me up, saying the young master was waiting for me at the gate to take me for an outing outside the city. It's September, what kind of outing are we going on? I changed into clothes suitable for leaving the city. But when I stepped outside and saw only one person and one horse, I turned right back around. Yuehai, Ling Q quickly released the reins and trotted over to pull me back. I'm an excellent rider, I promise I won't let you fall. It's not about whether I'll fall or not. riding out of the city together on the same horse, making such a spectacle of ourselves. By tomorrow, the whole of Linen would know we're a pair. Take the carriage, or I'm going back. I had the servant fetch the carriage instead. Ling Q reluctantly handed over his horse to my household attendants. Once in the carriage, Ling Q sat beside me with a cheerful smile, whispering, "I remember everything, remembered to bring silver." I extended my hand toward him. He untied a purse and tossed it to me. It had some weight to it. I opened it, and sure enough, the jade pendant from last night was mixed in with the broken silver pieces. As I was about to take it out, he quickly covered my hand. "My mother said I should give it to the one I love, but I've failed to give it away 3 times. I want to see it. I never said I wouldn't accept it." He hesitantly released his grip, watching nervously as I toyed with his jade pendant. "You still haven't answered me. What if on our wedding day, I told you I was Shen Yuehui? Would you still have fallen in love with me at first sight?" Ling Q covered his face and sighed. My heart sank. He spat out each word deliberately. "I'll drag you straight into the Ling residence for the wedding ceremony. That's not what you said back then. You said you'd come to take back the betrothal gifts. Did you know back then that I was Ling Q?" This was also something Ling Q cared about. Before, when we didn't know each other, it made sense for me to flee the marriage. But even after we became acquainted, it seemed I was still solely focused on breaking off the engagement. I thought to myself at the time, "My dear husband, couldn't you have at least told me before running away from our wedding? Having one of us flee would have been enough. Both of us escaping would have been utterly shameless. What did you just call me?" Ling Q's focus was oddly misplaced. "Ling Q," I called his name. Ling Q looked at me intently. I couldn't bear it and averted my gaze again. Too direct, I could even clearly read his thoughts. "Can I kiss you? Your feelings are written all over your face. May I, Shen Yuehui, can I kiss you? If you want to kiss me, just do it. Why ask so many questions?" I couldn't take it anymore. Ling Q froze for a moment, then embraced me passionately. I opened my eyes, his eyelashes trembling close enough to touch. Only when his eyes were closed did I dare to gaze at him so boldly. His dark pupils reflected me within them, as if a single glance could draw me in completely, lost in thought for just a moment. He nipped at me in dissatisfaction, opening his eyes to ask, "What are you thinking about?" "I was wrong, why don't you do it again?" A woman of humble origins knows when to yield and when to stand firm, and corrects her mistakes when recognized, mainly because Ling Q's kiss was quite pleasant, and his embrace was tight. Nonsense. Marriage is no child's play. We discussed with Master Shen to proceed with the marriage arrangement as planned. My father was so furious his beard bristled, driving Ling Q out of the estate and forbidding him to return without a marriage certificate next time. 2 months ago, we held a grand wedding for you too, only for you to turn it into a complete mess, making our families the laughingstock of the entire Linen, and now you're saying you're willing to get married. Do you think your old man hasn't been humiliated enough? Then let's set the wedding date for next year or the year after. My daughter isn't in any hurry to leave home either. What my father said makes sense, but when it comes to matters of the heart, I just can't control it. Anyway, here in Linen, the only one I fancy is Ling Q. Rarely. Even my elder brother and sister think we're being ridiculous. Only my mother said that as long as I felt it was good, then it was good. It seemed that compared to my situation, Ling Q's was even more dire. After he was sent back by my father, I didn't hear a single word from him for a full half-month. Yang Shu knew Yang Ju's younger sister, Yang Ling, so I asked her to arrange a meeting with Yang Ling for me to inquire about Ling Q's news. Ling Q also tacitly had Yang Ju convey a message on his behalf. He was just given a lesson and can't come out for now, telling me not to worry. I asked Yang Ling if her brother had said anything else. Uncle Ling was truly furious this time. He even resorted to family discipline. Life is unpredictable. Just a while ago, the elders from both families were getting along harmoniously, but now they've done a complete turnaround and neither side approves of this marriage. To be fair, we did take things too far. If only we could start over, I would still spare no expense to hire them, since the Ling family refuses to release anyone. I'll pay a visit to my future parents and siblings at the Ling residence. The Ling family left me waiting at the gate for 2 hours, with even the gatekeeper bluntly refusing to announce my arrival. Seeing no other option, I simply collapsed right in front of the Ling family's entrance. The next second, I was carried inside. First entry ought to be made by being carried in. They couldn't just haphazardly place me anywhere after carrying me in. So Madame Ling decisively nodded and had them carry me directly to the west wing of Ling Q's courtyard. This had been prepared for me long in advance. After lying there for a while, someone rushed in and grasped my hands with both of theirs. I twitched my index finger and traced something in their palm. Ling Q lowered his head to kiss my finger, then leaned close to my ear and whispered, "You scared me to death," when my father heard I'd fainted at the Ling family's gate. He rushed over without delay. After Ling Q assured him I was fine, he immediately turned to confront Old Master Ling. Knowing he was in the wrong, Old Master Ling had no choice but to relent and lift the restrictions on Ling Q. "As for our marriage arrangement, what marriage? If my daughter were to marry into your family, wouldn't she suffer this kind of mistreatment every single day? Of course not. What do you mean nothing? My daughter is lying in bed right now, hovering between life and death. Father, you're being too severe. Actually, I'm quite alright." The Ling family expressed they would defer entirely to the Shen family's wishes, and once Master Shen's anger subsides, the two families could sit down again to discuss the wedding date. With that, he invited my father to the front courtyard for tea, saying they shouldn't disturb my rest. The moment Lord Ling and my father left, Ling Q immediately rushed to my bedside to wake me. "Shen Yuehuai, if your father never relents, then I'll never marry either," Ling Q said earnestly, holding my hand. "Then you'll have to visit the Shen residence often and make yourself seen in front of him." I replied, My wife treats me so well," Ling Q murmured, nuzzling affectionately against my cheek. "No need to change the way you address me in advance." It was the first time I'd heard him call me that, and my face flushed red to the tips of my ears. "You brat, get off her right now." My father had just returned from drinking tea in the front courtyard to take me home. When he opened the door and saw Ling Q and me in such a state, the anger he'd barely suppressed flared up again. "I just came to after fainting." I immediately sat up, quickly put on my shoes, and stepped between the two of them. "Father, let's go home first." "Take care, my lady," Ling Q said reluctantly, his eyes filled with deep affection. "What nonsense are you shouting?" Old Master Shen fumed, his beard bristling with anger. Old Master Shen caused a scene at the Ling residence in Linen with his beloved daughter in tow. Upon hearing that Ling Q had once again angered Master Shen, the entire Ling household rushed over, putting on humble appearances and using every possible means to barely suppress half of my father's rage. Ling Q gave a slight bow, escorting my father and me to the mansion's gate, adhering to the principle of not entering the Shen residence without permission. Ling Q waited for me only at the main gate. My father scolded me, saying a young lady shouldn't always be wandering about the city. Ling Q and I took a carriage ride outside the city to enjoy some tender moments together. My father couldn't bear to watch any longer and summoned Ling Q to our estate to see me, forbidding him from making any public appearances before our wedding. Thus, my father had finally relented, with my father's approval secured. Ling Q smiled warmly and promised me that all I needed to do was wait for him to come and marry me. The next day, news came that the eldest young Master Ling had a relapse of his old illness and was bedridden. My delicate fiancé, this time he recovered in just 2 days. Madame Ling said if he didn't get better soon, she wouldn't let him see me, lest I also fall ill. Ling Q being constantly like this suddenly made me realize a serious problem. What would the wedding night be like? This wasn't me being unnecessarily anxious, it was about the decades to come. I asked my father if I could try it out first. My father flew into a rage and drove Ling Q away, who had just recovered from a serious illness and come to visit. Indeed, no father in the world would want his daughter to marry a sickly man. Ling Q sent a letter the next day, asking if something had happened again. I replied to reassure him, saying I would handle it myself. In the early summer of the following year, the wedding was ultimately held. As for being weak and sickly, Ling Q personally proved to me that my previous worries were unnecessary. "I truly regret it," Ling Q murmured, gently nuzzling against me. That day, I should have just dragged you back to hold our wedding ceremony." The end.